Alex Kotarjic is a friend of mine. He's known to certain people in this room. He wrote a very interesting article a couple of years ago about the decline of the modern face. The decline of the modern face. It was an article in physiognomy, which is quite a technique of analysis in the 19th century. Have you noticed that most people, when they're photographed today, wish to look as nice as possible, as reflexive as possible, as open-hearted as possible? They're pleading to be liked. Whereas he dug up all of these photographs of missionaries from the late 19th century and Shakers from New England. Remember that cult, the Shakers? They used to have these ecstatic dances. They all died out because they were frightened of sexual intercourse, which of course will occur. Because if you're frightened of the one, you will certainly meet the other. But the face of these Shakers was furious. You know, even just to pose nicely for the camera, they would look like this. They would look with a demonic intensity and ferocity and sense of themselves and sense of courageous purpose and that sort of thing. Today, you're regarded as mentally ill if you sort of look like that for your own portrait, aren't you? And yet what they were doing is they were putting on a face. They were putting on the way in which they wished to be perceived by the world. It was like sitting for a portrait, sitting for an oil portrait. You didn't show your weakest or your most reflexive or your most kind-hearted side. That, if it existed, was for private use. This was a public face. And in the decline of the West's public face, you can see writ large the decline in the spirit of ourselves, which has occurred over the last century and which has accelerated over the last century. People say today that men are less masculine than they used to be, that men have been emasculated by feminism, that maleness itself is so under threat that most men don't even wish to mention the concept, certainly not in polite society. There's nothing